There is a version of you that is fully alive. Not just functioning. Not just getting through the week. Fully alive. The kind of man who gets out of bed in the morning because something is pulling him forward. Who feels, at his core, that what he does matters. That he belongs somewhere. That he is part of something bigger than just his own survival. Most men have felt that version of themselves at some point. Maybe it was on a sports team. Maybe it was in the military. Maybe it was building something from scratch. And then somewhere along the way, it got quieter. So today I'm going to show you exactly why men without purpose are not just unhappy, they are dying. And if you stay until the end, I'll reveal the one dimension of purpose that almost every conversation about meaning completely misses. Welcome back to Deeper Dudes. But first, let's talk about why so many men are living in a state of quiet desperation without even realizing it. Let me paint you a picture. He wakes up at the same time every day, goes to a job that pays the bills but doesn't light anything up inside him, comes home, eats, scrolls, sleeps, repeat. On the outside, everything looks fine. On the inside, there is a low hum of emptiness that he cannot name and would never admit to. This man is not lazy. He is not weak. He is not broken. He is purposeless. And that is one of the most dangerous conditions a man can be in. The research on this is unambiguous. Men who lack a sense of purpose have dramatically higher rates of depression, substance abuse, and suicide. They are more likely to be socially isolated, more likely to feel that their life is expendable, more likely to direct their energy toward things that destroy them rather than things that build something worth having. The U.S. Surgeon General's report on loneliness described a full-blown epidemic of disconnection. Men are at the center of it. But what the headlines miss is that loneliness is often just a symptom. The disease underneath it is purposelessness. When a man has no sense of mission, he has no reason to reach out, no reason to build, no reason to invest in the people around him. He retreats inward, and the world gets smaller, and the smallness feels like failure, and the failure confirms every worst thought he has ever had about himself. I know because I lived it. There was a period in my life where I was checking every external box: good income, decent shape, social life that looked active from the outside. But I would wake up in the middle of the night with this crushing sense that none of it mattered, that I was going through the motions of a life instead of actually living one. And the worst part was not the emptiness, it was the shame around the emptiness. Because how do you admit that you feel lost when you are supposed to have it all figured out? That spiral is not inevitable, but it is predictable, and it starts with the absence of purpose. But here's the truth that changes everything. Purpose is not a passion. It is not a career. It is not a goal on a whiteboard. Those things can be expressions of purpose, but they are not purpose itself. Purpose is a belief. It is an answer to the question, why am I here and what am I willing to bleed for? Think about the men throughout history who moved mountains. The ones who built civilizations, led movements, raised families, that changed communities. What did they have in common? They were not necessarily the smartest, not always the strongest, not the best looking or the best connected. What they had was a clear answer to that question. They knew what they stood for, and that clarity gave them the ability to endure things that would have broken men without it. Viktor Frankl survived Nazi concentration camps and came out the other side having developed one of the most important psychological frameworks of the 20th century. His core finding: the men who survived the unsurvivable were not always the physically strongest. They were the ones who had a reason to keep going, a wife waiting, a book they needed to write, a belief that their suffering had meaning. Purpose, he argued, is not a luxury. It is a biological necessity. It is what the human nervous system runs on. And here is what is fascinating about this from a neuroscience perspective. When a man has a clear sense of purpose, his brain literally processes the world differently. stress becomes challenge rather than threat. Obstacles become information rather than confirmation of defeat. Other people become potential allies rather than competition or irrelevance. Purpose does not just make a man happier, it makes him more capable, more resilient, more connected. And according to a growing body of research, it actually makes him live longer. Studies on longevity consistently show that people with a strong sense of purpose have lower rates of cardiovascular disease, better immune function, and lower mortality rates across the board. This is not feel-good psychology. This is hard biology. Your body knows when you are living for something, and it rewards you for it. This leads directly into understanding why modern life has made purpose so much harder to find. Before we go any further, I want to pause for something important. None of what we've been talking about matters if we don't have the energy and clarity to actually implement it. We all know what it feels like to wake up exhausted. No energy, poor focus, and zero motivation. We also know what it feels like when we get good, restful sleep, targeted therapy, and the right supplements. I've personally tested more things than you can imagine. I'm like your personal guinea pig. Everything I have listed in the description below is science-backed and extensively tested. And if you grab anything through my links, you'll be supporting this channel at zero cost to you. Thanks for taking a look. Now let's get back to it. If this is helping, please hit that like button so more men can find this when they need it most. And drop a comment. Have you ever felt that low hum of emptiness I described? No judgment, just want to know I'm not alone in this. So here is where I want to get real about why men are losing purpose at scale. And none of this is your fault, but all of it is your responsibility to understand. The first reason is structural. For most of human history, purpose was built into the fabric of daily life. You were a hunter, a farmer, a craftsman, a warrior, a father who had to physically provide or your family did not eat. The mission was not something you had to find, it was something you woke up inside of every single day. Modern life has stripped most of that away. Not because modern life is bad, but because comfort and convenience, while genuinely good things, have removed the conditions that used to generate purpose automatically. When survival is not the question, you have to answer a harder one. What am I actually for? And most men have never been taught how to answer that. The second reason is cultural. We live in an era that has done a very poor job of giving men a positive, clear vision of what it means to be a man. On one side, you have the old toxic model. Be hard, never show weakness, dominate or be dominated. On the other side, you have a complete vacuum, where men are told what not to be but given nothing to walk toward. A man without a model is a man without a map. And a man without a map will wander. And wandering at scale across millions of men looks like what we are seeing right now. Disengagement, isolation, rage, despair. The third reason is the one nobody talks about enough. Digital life has given men an escape from the discomfort of purposelessness without giving them a solution to it. You can spend 16 hours a day consuming content, gaming, scrolling, betting, and never once sit with the uncomfortable truth that you do not know what you are building or why. The discomfort of purposelessness is actually useful. It is a signal. It is your nervous system telling you that something important is missing. When we numb that signal instead of listening to it, we lose the only thing that could point us toward the answer. Now here is the piece that I think gets missed in almost every conversation about male purpose. Purpose is not a solo project. I want to say that again because it runs counter to almost everything our culture tells men. Purpose is not a solo project. Think about every great mission in human history. Every movement that changed something real. Every community that was built from nothing into something. They were all built by groups of men who shared a belief and showed up for each other in service of something larger than any one of them. The research on this is striking. Men who belong to a group with a shared mission report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction, mental health, and even physical health than men who pursue their goals in isolation. It is not just about accountability, it is about identity. When you are part of something, you become someone, and becoming someone gives you a reason to keep going. Think about men who come back from military service and describe missing it, despite everything they went through. They are not missing the danger. They are missing the clarity, the shared mission, the knowledge that the men beside them would give everything for the same thing they were giving everything for. That is purpose and brotherhood fused into one experience, and it is one of the most powerful things a human being can feel. And here is the hard truth. Most men in modern life have never felt that. Or they felt it once, in their 20s on a team, or in a service branch, or building a startup. And then life happened, and they lost it. And they have been searching for it ever since, without knowing what they were searching for. That search is not weakness. That ache is not something to be ashamed of. It is the most human thing about you. It is your biology telling you that you were not built to go it alone. So what do you actually do? I want to be direct here because I think vague inspiration without practical direction is a disservice to every man watching this. Step 1. Stop outsourcing the question. Nobody is going to hand you your purpose. Not a podcast, not a book, not a guru, not this channel. Those things can be fuel, but they cannot be the engine. The engine has to come from you sitting with the uncomfortable question and not running from it. Ask yourself, what problem in the world makes me angry enough to actually do something about it? What would I be willing to be bad at for a year in order to eventually be good at it? What would I want the men who know me best to say about me at the end of my life? Those are not small questions. Do not rush them, but do not avoid them either. Write them down. Sit with them for a week. Let the answers emerge from the parts of you that are not performing for anyone. Step 2. Find your people before you find your purpose. This sounds backwards, but it is not. For most men, purpose does not arrive as a lightning bolt of individual inspiration. It emerges through relationship, through conversations with other men who are also searching, through shared experience that reveals what you actually care about when your guard is down. Find one man in your life and have a real conversation. Not about sports, not about work, about what you are actually building and why. It will feel awkward. Do it anyway. That discomfort is the wall between where you are and where you need to be. And if you do not have that man in your life yet, then finding him becomes your first mission. Join a group, show up to a meetup, reach out to someone whose work you respect. One real connection with one man who is willing to talk about real things can change the trajectory of your entire life. Step 3. Do something that costs you something. Purpose cannot live in your head. It has to be tested in the real world. That means taking action that involves real risk of real failure. Starting the thing, saying the thing, showing up for the thing even when it is inconvenient and uncomfortable and uncertain. Every man who ever built anything worth building will tell you the same thing. The clarity came from the doing, not from the planning. You do not think your way into purpose. You act your way into it. For me, that looked like committing to create content even when I had no idea if anyone would care. Even when it felt vulnerable and exposing and like I was way out over my skis. But every time I hit publish, I got a little more clarity about what I was actually here to do. Your version will look different. But the principle is the same. Move toward the fear. The answers are on the other side of it. Step 4. Protect the signal. Once you start to feel it, that pull toward something real, protect it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Reduce the noise. Cut the consumption that numbs you. Guard your time with the ferocity of a man who understands that time is the only currency that actually matters. The world will try to pull you back into comfort and distraction at every turn. It is not malicious, it is just how the system is designed. Your job is to become ungovernable to that system, to choose depth over breadth, mission over leisure, brotherhood over isolation. When you combine all of this, when you answer the hard questions, find your people, take real action, and protect what matters, something shifts. You stop being a man who is just moving through time. You become a man with a mission. And a man with a mission is one of the most powerful forces on earth. Not because he is perfect, not because he has it all figured out, but because he knows what he stands for. And he is willing to stand for it. Drop a comment. What is one question you are going to sit with this week? The problem that makes you angry? What you are willing to be bad at? Or what you want said about you at the end? Let me know below. Well, that's it. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you found it helpful, please be sure to give it a like and maybe even subscribe to Deeper Dudes. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. It all helps the channel more than you know, and it also tells us that we should make more content like this. We post videos every other day that tackle real challenges men face. Remember, struggling doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. The fact that you took time to watch this means you're ready for something better. Thanks again for watching and for checking out all the amazing products in the description below. They could jumpstart your healing journey. Catch you in the next one, Deeper Dudes. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, keep thriving.